Welcome to today's Halacha, as we conclude our discussion of Tzeda, of trapping on Shabbos. And we talked about what animals are subject to trapping, what animals are not subject to trapping. And we talked about what constitutes trapping, what doesn't constitute trapping. And if it's an animal that can move around freely and you're restricting its movement, and if it's an animal that's hard to catch when it's moving around and it's easy to catch when it's in a confined space, we will consider that to be trapping. And so the question that comes up possibly most often is that of bees. Can I trap a bee on Shabbos? Well, the Gemara in Shabbos on Kufav tells us that you can trap a mosquito, a bug, but we'll assume it's a mosquito on Shabbos. But Tosfos there tells us that it's not. You can't just carte blanche whenever you want trap a mosquito. Instead, when it's on your arm, when it's about to bite you, then you're allowed to trap it. But otherwise, it will not be okay. Now, again, that trapping, what kind of trapping is it? Is this trapping? Is it that I want the mosquito, that I want the bug to be in a confined space? Do I want to have access to it? If I'm trapping an animal because I want to eat it, because I want to take its hides, that would be a real issue of trapping. But if I'm trapping a bug to get it away from my arm because I don't want it near me, we call that, as we've discussed, a Halacha she'eina tzurich l'gufa. It's a prohibition of Shabbos, but not for the purpose of the design prohibition. It's not like they did in the Mishkan. Instead, it's the action to avoid an alternative. And so, if it's a Halacha she'eina tzurich l'gufa, that's not going to be on a violation on a Torah level, it's going to drop things down, then when I'm trapping that mosquito, it's not as serious. I'm allowed to trap that mosquito if it's about to bite me. Now, in stark contrast, the Mishnah tells us that when it comes to a snake, a tzad nakash is mutter, you're allowed to trap a snake. Why? Seemingly because snakes are dangerous. Snakes are going to hurt you. But what's the difference between a mosquito and a snake? The Be'er Halacha tells us, it explains that a snake is a painful bite. It's really going to hurt you. Now, we'll just note that we're talking about the painful bite of a snake, how snakes can hurt us, but if, God forbid, the snake is poisonous and there's a pikuach nefesh, a life and death question, then all bets are off. It's a very different kind of conversation. But if the snake's just going to hurt me, that's a big deal. If the mosquito is going to hurt me, is it really such a big deal? The mosquito's going to bite me. It's going to itch for a while. It's going to be a nuisance, but it's not going to cause me great pain. And so, whereas a mosquito is just annoying, a snake bite is real pain, and so we'll allow trapping of a snake. We're not going to allow trapping of a mosquito unprompted. Now that brings us to our question of a bee. Where does a bee fall in? Is a bee more like a mosquito or more like a snake? Modern day Halacha Svarim, both Shmir Shabbos, both the 39 Malachos book of Rabbi Ribbayat and the other English book, the Shabbos Home, Shabbos Kitchen by Rabbi Simcha Banim Cohen, will both tell you that you are allowed to trap bees on Shabbos, seemingly assuming that a bee is more like a snake and that it's going to be a painful trapping. Now, one other piece to consider based from the Sharat Zion, based off of the Rambam, is that when you're trapping this bee, you don't want to use a conventional bee trap, whatever that looks like. You want to do something a little bit more makeshift, something much less official. Just use like a cup or something to cover it up, and that's all we're going to do. We don't want it to be such an elaborate kind of trapping. That's all for now. It's been a pleasure learning Sud together. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.